What's up guys, Four-Wheeler Doctor back again. Tonight we're going to do a quick video on a lift kit install on a 2007 Rancher 420. This is going to be one of these super ATV kits. Done a lot of lifts on various four-wheelers before, and it's been a long time since I've done one of these with the aluminum, machined aluminum. They used to be a little different design than this, and I had some issues with them before. If they get loose, it would waller out the aluminum here. But this one's made a little bit better, where it's got a support on the bottom here to help hold it, and pretty simple to put on. So I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to probably try to leave the camera running on this because I'm not thinking this is going to take very long. But I'll speed up the tempo on some slower parts. Looks like for the front end what we're going to need is a 14mm wrench, 17mm socket, and a 14mm socket. We'll go ahead and pull these tires off, or this tire. Set your tire off. Then you got to pull this bottom shock bolt off here, 14mm. Grab your lift bracket, and the way the instructions say these things go in here, so we'll grab a screwdriver and knock some of this dirt out of the bottom of that thing there. I'm not sure if the bracket rests right down on that or not, but anyway, we're going to get dirt out from between it. Alright, so the bolt you'll be looking for is one of these shorter bolts and a washer and a nut. We'll pop those open. Got 3 nuts, 3 washers, and 3 bolts, but only 2 of the bolts are a short one. So, all right. So this piece here goes in with the fatter part of it toward the back, just like that. And you actually can stick your factory hardware back in there, along with the nut, and then swing your shock down. Might take a little bit of prying to get this thing in here because it is under a little bit of pressure. Usually take a screwdriver and stick under it. You can get it to kind of pry up. Work it on in there like that. Like that there. Stick your bolt through here. I'm going to have to shake it just a little bit farther forward. Still got to come up some. Having to I'm gonna take a Phillips screwdriver and stick through the back side, try to lift up or pry down on the strut and lift up on the shock at the same time to get this bolt to line up, because it's not wanting to line up using this operation. Grab a Phillips, stick it in the back side, kind of pry up on it. It's very close to lining up. And that's all you got to do to get it to line up, is just pry up just a little, wiggle it around to get your bolt in there, just like that. Tap it in with my kind of multi-purpose hammer, just like that. Put your washer on and your lock nut. I believe these things may be a different size in the factory bolts. That's a 14. Normally these are 14 on one side and a 17 on the other, and that's exactly what this one is. So go ahead and tighten this back down. Pretty much this side's done. Like I told y'all, this is going to be a pretty quick one here. And there's the compressor. Let me get this torqued down. I'll cut the camera back on in just a second. Alright guys, so there you go. Just repeat the process on the other side, and that'll be your lift kit install. I'm going to, or at least on the front, I'll get this other side through together real quick, and I will cut the camera back on when I get to the back side. Alright guys, back here on the back side now. I've got the rear end of it lifted up, And you want to put this thing up on some jack stands. Make sure you put your jack stands under the frame, because once you remove this shock, if you've got it lifted up here, it will slam everything up under the four-wheeler. So don't want to do that. So make sure you get some jack stands under the frame, which I just slid a couple under there. And you also want to get this thing high enough so that this rear end will droop down and allow for the 2-inch lift, because it can be somewhat difficult to get the bolts in there if you don't have it lowered down far enough. And pretty much all you got to do here is remove this one lower bolt, much like we did on the front, the one lower 14mm bolt. You do have to use a ratchet for this bolt because the impact will not go in there. However, the air ratchet will. So I'm going to stick it in there, pull that bolt out. If I can find a 14mm socket right off the top here. There's one here. And you will need I'm pretty sure you'll need a wrench to hold the back side of that. So hopefully I can get this thing to break loose. My air ratchet is not the strongest one in the world. Put the wrench on the nut side. See if I can get this thing to break loose first, then we'll worry about ratcheting it. Pretty tight. And it come off the head. Alright guys, sorry about that compressor cutting on, but I got the, I knocked the camera over. I've got the bolt out of there now, and I'm going to jack up a little bit on this rear end to relieve some of the pressure so that the bolt will come out as it did. And now we're going to put this bracket on. Funny looking little bracket here. Like I said, I've never installed one of these superatv lifts that look quite like this, so we're going to see how this goes. This thing's got a little set screw that goes in to this hole here to kind of hold everything on the rear end, it looks like. So tighten that thing down. I'm just going to hand tighten it right now and see how this thing goes in here. It appears it will fit in there just like that. It actually looks pretty dang good in there. So stick your factory bolt back through the bottom of it, just like that. And the nut, which went God knows where. Oh, there it is. Over this way. Ease it on there. And then we're going to have to get this shock way on down. It looks like I didn't do what I told you to do, and that was allow enough room for these tires to droop down. I'm sorry, you're looking at the muffler there. But got the factory bolt in there, but the shock will never go in the hole the way it is now because I didn't allow enough room for the rear end to droop down. So I'm going to pull these tires off because I can't jack it up now unless I stick the factory bolt back in there, and I'm just not going to do that. So we'll pull the back tires off, and that'll allow the rear end to drop down even farther so I can get the bolt in there, and then we'll get everything tightened up and jack it back up. So let me cut the camera off, pull them tires off, I'll cut it back on and let you see the final product. Alright guys, I got the rear tires off. I did run this Allen head set bolt back in here a little ways, actually until it was just about to stick out of the bottom of the bracket so that I wouldn't have to spin it so much while it was on here. And we're going to snug that thing down just a little bit. That kind of tightens your bracket up. I'm also going to hit that factory bolt with the impact, or with the air ratchet, to go ahead and tighten it down, and then we'll finish tightening up the Allen head. Let me run this in real quick. Hopefully the compressor's not going to come on. That's tightened down. That was that factory 14mm bolt. And now I'm going to snug this set I guess you'd call this a set screw in there. That's just to keep the bracket from rocking around on the swing arm. Lower this shock or the rear end down a little bit more until we can get our bolt in here. And then you're going to use this last remaining, the longer bolt in the kit, and a washer and a nylon nut, and my jack. Just let the rear end completely down. There we go. Put it back in there. Ease this thing up a little bit until our bolt hole lines up. Should be pretty close right there. So there it goes. Lowered it down just a hair, and that was enough to get the bolt to slide right through. Stick your washer and your lock nut on the back side. This is the same size bolt and nut as it was on the front, so a 14mm head and a 17mm nut to tighten it down. Alright guys, so there's the final product. This is going to jack this thing up a pretty good bit. You can see how it sits up in the back, and I've got the new tires I'm about to throw on it for the rear. So that's going to be it. Pretty quick little lift kit install. You guys check out my other video, hit the like button, subscribe. Have a good night.